We're going to answer the question, why does my report have so much boilerplate text in it? Or how come my boilerplate text isn't changing when I make different assumption changes? Inside of our software, the assumptions that you use will determine what boilerplate is brought into the report. And if you don't make those selections up front, it will just generate a large report, so all of the boilerplate comes into play. So for instance, you'll see the book value method here, and then you'll come down and you see the adjusted book value, and then you'll see the liquidation value after that, and you're saying, but why do I have all of those inside of there? And it's because you didn't select the selections up front. We used to have a smart report, and that is that as you change those selections, the report would change. But what would happen is that a practitioner would spend a couple of hours crafting a few paragraphs. Say, for instance, he chose a capitalization of earnings model and crafted a whole big paragraph on how the capitalization rate was developed, and then he would switch to a DCF model, and all of that capitalization of earnings paragraphs would be hidden, and they wouldn't be able to be seen anymore. So the practitioner would get very upset with us and say, why did I lose that hour, that afternoon of work when I, spent all that time on it? So the way we've changed our programs over the past 10 years is to not be hot linked, or to be hot linked, but not to be smart. So if you don't want to see a whole bunch of text inside of your reports, make your selection of the assumptions up front. The numbers are hot linked and they will change, but the selections themselves and the assumptions should probably be very, very good. Now, if you get more text in here than what you want, the trick is to delete things. Now, when you delete stuff, there are chevrons, and for every left chevron, you have to delete a right chevron. And that's the only trick to deletion here. So for instance, if I said, hey, I'm using a DCF model and I don't want this capitalization of cash flows model, all I would do is highlight over the top of it, work my way down to the bottom of that area, and I'm just scanning here and looking for the next heading that shows up, and there it is. It's a discounted growth model. Now you see how I captured the right chevron here? If I hit the delete key in that thing, in that Word document, then it will delete that out, and I will no longer have the capitalization of earnings model inside of there. So I can delete out pieces of text that I don't need to have anymore. Let me save this report. And I'm out here on the desktop. We'll press save. And let's say that I needed to get that cap of earnings methodology back into my report. The way I would do that is I would generate a brand new report, and this here we'll call report 2, and when I generate that second report, it will come up and it'll have that capitalization of earnings methodology in it. And then what I want to do is I will want to open up Microsoft Word, and I will want to open up the old report in another instance of that. So let me go to the desktop. I'm looking for report 1. And this would be my report that I want to keep, the one that's missing the paragraphs. I would bring focus to the area where I wanted to put that in place. I usually type in a couple line breaks so I can fix the pagination later. I'm going to pause here until the new report is done, and then we will continue. Okay, so what's happened now is we stopped the pause because the second report has been generated. So let me bring you up to speed again. I saved off the original report that I want to keep, that I want to put boilerplate text into, off onto my desktop. I now have created a second report, and I will find the text inside of the second report. You can do that in a lot of different ways. I find it's easiest to go into my table of contents and look for the methodologies considered and used. I press click and control. I jump down here, and I am looking for the cap of earnings model. So I scroll down a little bit, and I find my capitalization of earnings model. and I highlight. Here again, I have to capture. For every left chevron, I have to capture a right chevron. So I'm going to capture the capitalization of earnings methodology. All of that boilerplate text is what I'm looking for. I use my button to right click. I press copy. Now I come over to the document where I wanted that. As I said before, I've brought focus down here to the bottom part of the screen, and that's where I'm going to paste. So I click on that, and I can hit Control V, or I can right click and say paste. Now paste options you have to be careful with. You have to use the destination theme so that you keep all the styles in place. If you copy from one report to another, it's not a big deal. And now inside of my report that I want to keep, I now have that text that has the cap of earnings model inside of it. I can bring that back up in the report writer and use this report going forward, and it will be hot linked because I kept the links in place. I hope this answered your questions. Thank you very much.